All right, so do you need a quick way to get good images for your real estate listings without spending any money, without picking up the phone, and without even leaving your computer? Well, in the next few minutes, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. Stick around, okay? So we all know that good pictures for any real estate listing is extremely important. Nobody can deny that. But it's really kind of annoying to hire a photographer or go out to the property yourself. And it's something that I think you should always do when you can, but there are some situations that you just need to move quicker than that. You need to get the property listed now, like today, not next week when the person finally gets you the pictures and when you finally have a chance to get out there. So I'm gonna show you, in terms of how my vacant land investing business works, exactly how I get some pretty decent images without even leaving my computer. And you might already know how to do a few of these, but I'm willing to bet if you stick around, you'll probably learn something new in the next few minutes. So let's get into it and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, so the first little trick I'm going to show you here is how to pull up a GIS parcel map of the property you're looking at. And this kind of works a little bit differently depending on what part of the country your property is located in. I know some counties have really good records and details and public information that you can pull up really easily. Others, you have to work a little harder to get it. But in this example, I'm looking at a totally random property in Boulder, Colorado. So to find the GIS parcel map, we would go to Google and just type in Boulder, Colorado, GIS map or something to that effect. You could also use the county name. That's another good way to do it. And so we search for it, and it's the first thing that pops up here. So we click on this. And keep in mind, sometimes the county won't even have this stuff available. So if you can't find it, you're not necessarily crazy. It just doesn't exist. But in this case, Boulder, Colorado, and the county it's located in has this information available. So that's really helpful. And when you find these things, they always look a little bit different. So it's hard to find consistency from one county to the next. But the important thing is they just have it at all. Because if you know where it is and how to get to it, you can usually take some time and figure out how it works. So in this case, it looks like in order to start searching for properties, we have to know one of these pieces of information. And in this case, I do know the street name. So we'll put it in there, it pops up, we can click on that. And then it gives us this list here. So we can start scrolling through it until I find one that's close by, this one. And then we'll click on that and then say view. And then it zooms to it. And this here gives us a parcel map of the property. So these are the actual boundaries of it. If we wanted to, we can click here to do an aerial view of that property. As you can see, it's just sort of helpful. It tells us where the property boundary lines are. And if we wanted to, we could take a screenshot of this right here. And I'm on a Mac right now. And to do a screenshot on a Mac, you just click and hold Command-Shift-4. And then it pops up this little crosshairs thing. And then you can go like this. And once you do that, it gives us a little image that it just saved to my desktop. And I can click on that. And here it is. That is my image that I could work with. And if you're using a PC with Windows, you can do pretty much the exact same thing. But there is a free tool built into Windows called the Snipping Tool. And I've got another like 20-second video explaining how to use that. But you really just have to go to your Start menu and search for the word snipping, and you'll see it pop up. And it works very similar to this. You just have to click a few buttons and then draw a box around whatever image you're trying to save, and just click and release, and it does the exact same thing. So if you're on a Windows computer, be sure to check that out. There's also a software called Snagit, which is about $50 to buy, and it does the same thing, but it has a lot more flexibility and capabilities in terms of how you can edit the images. I actually have that on my computer too, but just for the purposes of showing you the quick, free, easy way, you can do it pretty quickly that way too. If you are interested in using Snagit, I'll have a link to that software beneath this video so you can go check that out. But really, that's all you have to do, and that gives us a parcel map, which can be extremely helpful. There's also a program I use called Agent Pro 24/7 that makes it a little bit easier when you're working in multiple counties. You don't have to learn all these different GIS systems because it gives you a more consistent way to pull up these maps. Agent Pro does require a monthly subscription, so just keep that in mind if you're looking for an easier way to get these images. That's also available. So now that we have this parcel map, I'm going to show you some other ways we can get some different views of this property using a software that's free called Google Earth. And I use this pretty much every day, all the time, and it's an amazing tool. So now that we've got this property address here, we're going to highlight this and copy it and plug it right in here to Google Earth, and we will zoom to that. And then this is the same property. If you take a look at this compared to that, you can kind of see it's the same place. But Google Earth does not give us an actual parcel map, so we don't necessarily see the boundaries of where it's located here. But if we use this information that we've got right here, Google Earth does have what's called a polygon tool, where you can draw shapes over the map. And I'll show you how that works. Let's say if we want to draw a map over this thing right here, we would kind of just have to go back and forth and just make sure we understand where the boundaries are here on this one. And once we've got a good feel for that, we can go over here and click this thing right here, and we'll just call it Boulder Property. And once we've done that, it gives us this little box, and we can just click once and then go over here and click again on this corner. And as you can see, it's started drawing a line. Then we can go over here and click on this corner. And then lastly, we can go over here and click on this corner. And just like that, it's drawn a box over the property that looks pretty similar to that. It's probably not exactly to the inch, but it at least gives us a pretty good perspective for where that property is. And right now it's just this white box. You can't see anything beneath it, but you can go up here where it says opacity and just make this number go down, and it will start to make that box transparent. So you can actually see the property through that white box that we drew over it. I usually bring it down to 50% because that's just enough to kind of allow a person to see pretty clearly what's underneath that while still making it really clear where those property boundaries are. And you can also change the color of it if you want to. So I'm fine with white, so I'm just going to leave it like that. But yeah, you hit OK. And now we've got this parcel map drawn over the property. And if I hit Shift or Control on my keyboard, or Command in my case because I'm using a Mac, you can change the perspective and still see where that property is. And the box doesn't change, which is just a really awesome tool. And this brings me to my next point. As you can see, as I'm moving around here in Google Earth, I can see the topography and the mountains in the background. And if your property is in a place like Colorado, where they have these mountains, which is a very nice thing to show in your images and your property listings, I mean, definitely be sure to use this feature on Google Earth, because as you can see, it does a great job of showcasing the views that this property has, which are pretty awesome if you ask me. And you can obviously, zoom out and get this kind of perspective. You can change the direction that you're looking at the property in. So we'll do that quick. And now you can see where the property is relative to the rest of the city over here. You can zoom out more. It's just a really nice way to get a view of this property. And when it comes to Google Earth, you can do the exact same thing in terms of taking screenshots of the property. I will say though, with Google Earth and Google Maps, it is important that you follow their attribution guidelines. So it's totally fine to use this imagery, but if you're ever using this to take a video of the property to talk about it like I am right now, and if you include that video with your property listing, or if you're just taking snapshots, what you want to do is you always want this information right here, Google, and then the name of the database that they're pulling this imagery from. And this name can change depending on which part of the country you're looking at. But if you're going to take pictures or videos, just make sure that those names are always in the picture or in the frame of the video when you're shooting it. And I should mention that these attribution rules I'm talking about technically only applies to when you're using these images for what they call non-commercial purposes. So if you're not using them to generate revenue in any way and using them in a property listing, I'm not sure exactly if that falls under that definition, but I think you could probably make the argument that it does. So with that in mind, if you're going to be using these images specifically for the purpose of putting them in your property listing so that you can sell properties and generate revenue from that, my understanding is that you have to either ask permission and or use an upgraded version of Google Earth, which is called Google Earth Pro. And the good news is Google Earth Pro Pro is actually free as of the time of this recording. All you have to do is just do a Google search for Google Earth Pro and then the word free, and you should find the page on Google's website where you can download that. Hopefully it stays free forever, but if not, then you would basically just have to pay whatever you have to pay to get Google Earth Pro if you want to use those images for commercial purposes like putting them in your property listing. So just keep that in mind. And I'll show you, just for example here, we'll do this screenshot thing again. That looks like a pretty decent view with the mountains in the background. And then we'll click this, and then we'll draw a picture like that. And as you can see in this picture, I'm including the names of Google and the database. So as long as you do that, you should be fine with using these pictures. You just have to make sure that you're following those attribution guidelines as well. And as you can see, I just took one picture here. I mean, I could go over here, take another picture. You know, I could zoom in, take another picture like this. It's really whatever you want to do, but there's tons of flexibility when you know how to create these parcel maps and get different views and take these screenshots. You don't necessarily have to even go to the property. And that brings me to my next point. Google Earth and Google Maps also has, it's called Google Street View, where you can take this little man here, and when you drag it onto the map, you'll start to see these blue lines appearing. And that basically means that at some point in time, Google drove by this property and took some pictures. So you can go ahead and zoom in like this. And right here, if you ever wanted to drive by this property, there's really no need because Google already did it for you. And this is the same thing as the satellite maps we were just taking a look at. Let's say if we wanted to take this picture and use it in our listing, you can do that. Just go ahead and take another screenshot. Make sure Google and the database names are showing right there at the bottom. And boom, you've got another picture. And if you want to move down the street, you just have to click like this. Keep going down. This looks like another perspective we could use. Now we can take this kind of picture here. And as you'll find, sometimes these pictures are just kind of like, they're not really that beautiful, but it's better than nothing. I mean, if you don't have time to drive out to the property, or if you're somebody like me, I mean, I'm in Michigan, I'm not going to fly to this property and take pictures. It's just not worth that. And I could hire somebody to do that, and that's something I've done in many, many cases. But if you just need a quick fix and you need a solution right now to get these images so you can create a listing, just open up Google Earth and you can get them in a matter of seconds. And for that matter, let's go down here, get some other perspectives. You know, this is another good view. And keep in mind, Google will also show you at the bottom here where it says imagery date. It says 9/2015. So these pictures were taken in September of 2015. Sometimes you'll go down here and you might see that the images were taken in like 2011 or like a long time ago, like several years ago. And if you see that, it's really just kind of a heads up to you that things very well could have changed at this property since that time. So just keep in mind, if you're going to be showing pictures from like 5 years ago, it may be in your best interest to get some updated pictures just to make sure you understand what's going on with that property. Because I've had it where the pictures on Google Earth looked sort of different from what the property looked like today because there had been activity on that property in the meantime. So just keep that in mind. I'll also say that Google Street View is not available in all areas. If you're looking at a property that is like way out in the sticks in a very rural area, there's a fair chance that Google Street View is just not going to be available yet. I know they're always building their image database, but just keep that in mind. This may not be an option in all cases, but when it is, it's definitely worth using it. And then the other thing I want to show you is with Google again. Google has a way that you can search specifically for images of whatever area you're looking for. So in this case, we've got a property that is clearly in or near the city of Boulder, Colorado. So it might be in our best interest to include some images of the surrounding area just to show people, hey, this is within walking distance or a short drive from the property. So what we could do is go back here to Google and do their image search and just type in Boulder, Colorado. And then up here, we can click on images. And the thing with images is that you don't want to just randomly take one of these and just save it and use it, because a lot of these images are going to be copyrighted and you're essentially going to be stealing from people who don't want you to use their pictures in your listings to sell stuff. So what you can do is go up here where it says Search Tools and Usage Rights. And this is a really nice feature where you can tell Google to only show you pictures that are labeled for reuse, meaning they're either not copyrighted at all, they're just in the public domain and anybody can use them for anything, or they're under what's called a Creative Commons license, which means you can use them for pretty much anything if you give them the proper attribution. And usually what I like to do is just use the public domain pictures if they're available, because then I don't have to mess with all the attribution stuff. It's usually not a bad idea just to keep track of where you got them from in case anybody ever tries to challenge you and say, hey, you don't have the right to use that. Then you can say, yes, I do. It's part of the public domain. Look. And I'll show you what I mean here. Usually when you pick these images that are labeled for reuse, the first things that you're going to see are images from Wikipedia. And pretty much every image on Wikipedia has to be part of the public domain, which makes it a really good source to get images from for this specific purpose. So if we wanted to click on this right here and we could open this up, as you can see, that's a really nice, beautiful picture. We've also got, this image right here, which we could use, but let's go down here and find this one. And as you can see, if we scroll down here, it says right here, public domain, which means it's not copyrighted. Anybody can use it for whatever they want. So all we'd have to do is save the image and put it on our desktop, and we are good to go. And we can use that for our listing. And whenever you do this kind of thing, you're usually going to want to include some sort of a note at the bottom of the picture in your listing saying nearby mountain or nearby area, something like that, just so people understand this isn't actually the property itself. This is just within walking distance or in the nearby vicinity. So just keep in mind, you can use these all you want. Just make sure you specify so people don't get confused and misunderstand what property you are selling them. And we could go back here and pick this one as well. It's another great picture. And in case you want to use some of these other images in the Google image search that are licensed under the Creative Commons, which means you can use them, you just have to use the proper attributions. Like I think this one right here might be an example. Let's check this out. When you look down here on Flickr, it says some rights reserved. So you can download this and you can use it, but you need to include a link back to wherever this image is stored. And then you usually have to mention the author or the photographer's name in some way. And doing image attribution properly can be a little bit of a headache and sort of complicated because there's different levels of Creative Commons licensing. And sometimes you can use them for some things, but not for others. And for that reason, honestly, I usually just steer clear of these because I don't want to mess something up or use something I shouldn't or get the attribution wrong in some way. So just to keep it simple, I'm usually targeting these public domain images whenever they're available. And again, all you got to do to find these is just type in the city or the township of wherever the property is located and then the state. And similar to Google Street View, I think you'll find that sometimes in those super rural areas, you won't find a lot that you have to work with, but it's always worth checking because you just never know. There could be some great images available, and all you have to do is a quick Google search and you'll get whatever they have in a matter of seconds. So obviously, I think it goes without saying, if you can put the time or money or investment into getting good pictures at the actual property tailored specifically for your listing, that's always going to help you out and help buyers to be fully informed about the property they're purchasing from you. But if that's just not an option, or if you don't have the time for that, or if it just doesn't warrant that kind of time or money investment to get those pictures, the next best thing is to use these free resources I just showed you. And as I think you'll see, they're pretty straightforward and easy to use. So hopefully that helps you out, and I wish you all the best in getting your property sold.